Assalamu Alaikum. Now we are back with the second part of our lesson for today, and we're going to continue our utility software utility program. The first one that we are discussing right now is hard disk formatter. As before the Azan, we were talking about the disk formatter. What is it doing? It's going to be there to make the hard disk available for storing the data. So if the formatting is not being done, then you will not be able to read or write the data to the hard drive. So that is very important thing that we need to know. So beside this, we are also using formatter for making the partitions. And these partitions are the logical partitions. Remember, when you talk about the hard drive is one, but that is logically divided into pieces, into parts, and these parts, logical parts of the hard drive are called partitions. And once the partitions are created, then they need to be formatted. And this is done and what is being done, what is happening? This is usually done by writing files which will hold directory data and tables of contents at the beginning of each partition. What is table of contents? Assume it just like your book or copy that is holding the index, that is holding the contents. The way when we talk about our book also, that is table of contents in the beginning. Exactly the same thing is happening with our drive also. It has partitions, and these partitions are either going to be like different operating systems are using different file systems. Like we have Windows that is using either your NTFS or it is using FAT. So when you talk about NTFS, what is it? When carrying out formatting using NTFS, what happens? All disk sectors are filled with zeros. So one thing that we need to know, a very quick recap of this whole concept. Whenever we are partitioning with our NTFS format, then what happens is all the disk sectors are going to be filled with zeros. These zeros are read back, thus testing the sectors. Now, once the filling of the hard disk with the hard disk sectors with these zeros are done, it is read back. And when it is being read back, the testing is done. If any sector is bad or any sector is not able to store the data, then that will be tagged as a bad sector. So it is going to help in making the maximum use of your hard drive. So this is how the main thing that with NTFS is, it will make your system work a little better. Along with that, what else are they doing? This formatters also have checking tools which are non-destructive tests, and these tests are going to be carried out on each sector. If any bad sector errors are detected, the sectors will be flagged as bad, and the file recording will not be happening on those bad sectors at all, thus preventing the data loss in case of future storage. So this is one thing that we need to know about formatting, and do not confuse it with formatting that we talk about with respect to formatting in different applications. That formatting is different, and this formatting is completely different. Another thing that you can see here, bad sectors can be hard bad sectors, which are difficult to repair, or it can be the soft bad sectors, which are comparatively a little, can say still. There's a probability of recovering from there. Now, what is the reason of having bad sectors, which are hard bad sectors? They're caused by malfunctioning, by manufacturing errors. They're also because of the damaged disk surface, because of the read-write heads have touched the surface, or maybe it can be due to the system crash, which can lead to the hard bad sectors. Soft bad sectors are due to sudden loss of power, failure, or they can be effect of static electricity, leading to corruption of data in some of the sectors on the hard disk. So there are two reasons that are mentioned for soft bad sectors and three reasons mentioned for the hard bad sectors. Another very important utility software is virus checker. And this is something that you will again study in chapter number 6 once again. But virus checker or antivirus is simply there to detect and remove the viruses from the system. And one thing that we need to see here is while running the antivirus program, it may assume some of the applications to be containing the viruses, and they may be flagged as the files that are containing viruses. And then later, after the proper interrogation is being done for the files, then it may come to the conclusion that those are not the virus at all, and that means it is going to be, maybe the files are treated to be are will be quarantined. And once later the interrogation is done, then they will realize the operating system will realize, or the virus checker will realize, that this is not a file that is containing any viruses, and this is called your false positive. So just be clear, antivirus program, while it is running, while it is doing its work, it may encounter some of the files having suspicious behavior, and this is heuristic checking being done. So while heuristic checking is being performed, some files might have been behaving abnormally or like a virus, so they are quarantined, and later after interrogation is done, then they may realize, or the operating system may come to know that this is not a virus containing file, and that is called the false positive, and that is one of the drawbacks of antivirus software. Important thing that we need to know is antivirus software must be updated frequently, because of the because new viruses keep on coming. So if the antivirus program is not updated, it will not be able to know that which new viruses are entering the market, and it may have some problems. Next one, the third utility software that we have to talk about is defragmentation. Before we move to defragmentation, let's talk about fragmentation. This is one problem that we have studied earlier in chapter 3, hardware, under the heading of hard disk drive. So we can see fragmentation is happening because of the storage of the data not in contiguous locations. As you can see, this is just an example to make you understand that maybe a file can be deleted, or maybe the file is going to be, like you can see here, this is the first example. The file 1 is stored in 1, 2, 3, and another sector. And then another, after some operations are being performed, file 2 has been deleted. It means this file 2 was occupying 4, 5 partly, but now it is deleted. So it means that this is now available. And then file 3 is there, and then file 1, part of it is stored in some other location. That means that file 1 is not occupying contiguous locations, and that may result in some problems, and this is what is called here, is mentioned here. So after this is called fragmentation, because the file is not stored at contiguous locations, and since it is not stored at contiguous locations, it may happen that the file will not be able to be read faster. So with defragmentation software, the utility program by the name defragmentation, what will happen? All the non-contiguous parts of the file will be grouped together, will be stored together contiguously, and that is going to make the reading and reading process much faster as compared to the fragmented files. So this is what the disk fragmenter's job is. Let me talk about the definition, because this can come in the paper. A disk defragmenter will rearrange the blocks of data to store files in contiguous sectors wherever possible. However, if the disk drive is almost full, defragmentation may not work. And this is something that you need to know about the disk defragmentation. If it comes in the paper, at least you will be able to answer properly, and you will be able to score. Okay. And when the files are scattered because of fragmentation, then this defragmentation software is going to group the parts of the file together as contiguous blocks, so that they can be read and they can be worked upon faster. Now, next one is disk content analysis and repair software. The concept of disk repair software was like something that we need to know. Disk content analysis software is used to check disk drives for empty space and disk usage by reviewing files and file folders. This can lead to optimal use of disk space by the removal of unwanted files and downloads, such as the deletion of auto-saving files, cookies, download files, and so on. So this is what the disk content analysis software going to do. It will look for the empty spaces so that it is able to use the drive properly, and whichever files are not needed will be removed by disk content analysis or repair software. Please do not confuse this with the disk cleanup at all. This disk cleanup is different. That is something that you do yourself, and this is dealing with the that is also another utility program. So if you know it, I do not get confused with this linking with the disk content analysis. Disk content analysis is different from disk cleanup. Fine. Now, disk compression and file compression. Now, disk compression is something that we already have talked about. Is File compression. Yes, lossy and lossless is something that we already talked about. File compression is essential to save storage space, and it is able to make the download and upload speed a little faster, and it will be, can say that it will be consuming lesser bandwidth. When you talk about disk compression, so disk compression is not very common, and you can see is not common these days. And reason is, now we have vast storage spaces, and that is why the disk compression software utility is not very common. And what is this doing? The disk compression utility program is going to compress the data before writing it to the hard drive and decompresses it again when reading the data. So this is a bit different. Now, if you want to apply disk compression that was done earlier, before you save the data on the drive, on the disk, it will be compressed. And similarly, when you are talking about decompressing, so whenever you want to read the data, then again it will be decompressed before it is shown on the screen or it is visible for the user to read. It is a high priority utility. It is a high priority utility and will essentially override all other operating system routines. This is essential because all applications need to have access to the hard drive. It is important not to uninstall disk compression software since this would render any previously saved data to be unreadable. Now, this is just a caution. They have said that it is not being used anymore so often as we talk about the file compression software. But still, if you had some files which were saved earlier with this compression software, so please do not uninstall this. Otherwise, it may result in not accessing your previously saved data. Then backup. Now, what is backup? First thing is, while it is now backup software, while it is sensible to take manual backups of often, for example, we can make use of a memory stick to store the backup data, like for us, for our personal data. It is always a good practice to use the operating system backup utility. Fine. I mean, we are doing it ourselves, perfectly okay. That is a good practice. But along with that, we can also make use of the operating system's utility, that is the backup utility. What is it doing? This utility will allow a schedule for backup to be made at regular intervals, only carry out a backup procedure if there has been any changes made to a file. Now, this is very important. Backup is going to be done in cases whenever there is a change to the file. For total security, there should be 3 versions of a file. Now, this is really interesting. First version is what is stored on your hard drive, the current working space. Second backup will be locally backed up data that you can either store on a portable hard drive or a portable SSD that will be stored away from the current computer. And the third version of the backup will be created using a remote backup. So in this manner, if you are doing this, it will be beneficial because then in case of any problem, we are going to be using the restore capacity to restore the data from that medium, and this will be helpful in order to but again, one caution: whatever was the last backup time and date, only we are able to recover that much data. Maybe just example, maybe the backup was made last night. So after last night, whatever work you have done, if that is not backed up by you, then you may, if some fault has occurred, then you may not be able to recover that data which was saved from morning till this moment. So that is why it is very much essential that you need to know that what is important for you, and based on your requirement, you're going to make the backup. This make it based on your decision, whether you want to make up the backup every hour, whether you want to make up the backup on a daily basis, or you want to keep a weekly basis backup. Up to you. Decision is entirely yours. Decision is entirely based on the management. Now, this was a discussion. We have talked about operating system. We have talked about the utility programs. Now, very important thing is your program libraries. What are program libraries and what are they used for? They're used now, if I am the developer and we sometimes have to use the program libraries, or not sometimes, we often have to make use of the program libraries. Program libraries are used when software is under development and the programmer can utilize pre-written subroutines in their own programs, thus saving considerable development time. Now, just remember, program libraries are storing pre-written routines, and these routines can be functions or procedures. They simply mentioned they are making use of pre-written routines, and these are made and tested. It means if something goes wrong, then definitely, I mean, that won't be happening quite frequently because those routines are already tested, placed in the library to be used whenever you want to. And how are they essential? How are they beneficial? They are going to help a software developer who wishes to use dynamic link library to subroutines in their own program. So these routines must be available at runtime. So these dynamic link library, this is what is going to be our main discussion. We'll talk about mainly, first thing is why program libraries are essential, because they are storing the pre-written routines, they are storing pre-written functions and procedures, and they are beneficial because they can be used whenever you want to. And advantages to help a software developer who wishes to use the DLLs. What are DLLs? We'll talk about the DLLs right now. When software routines are written, such as a sort routine, they are frequently saved in a program library for future use by the other programmers. Now, one important thing, like you can see, just an example is mentioned here for you, and then we'll talk about a few other examples also. There's a company which is using maybe something, and what their advantage is, they don't want they have made the routines for maybe the graphics, and they don't want to change it. So what they will do, they will keep those routines as a program library, and they can be used in the subsequent versions. So their job, or their programmers' job, will be reduced to a great extent, because once they have made the routines, they are stored in the library. They can be used as many times as they want to. They can be used in different programs which are being developed under their banner, and their programmers are relieved of the main thing. I mean, now they can concentrate on the main thing, or the main task, because this task has been repeatedly handled, has been repeatedly needed. So rather than wasting the programmer's time and energy, those routines are written once, and they can be used as and reused as many times as you want to. This is just an example you can see here. Even when new program is being developed, so they will be making use of the same, so that they don't have to waste the time. And what is the advantage? Now, this is extremely important. Now, just mark this discussion as extremely important. Developing software in this manner, when you are making use of the program libraries, what is the advantage? Removes the need to rewrite the many routines every single time, thus saving the considerable time of the programmers and the cost also. Leads to modular programming. This is what we have been talking about quite frequently in our paper too. So modular programming means that several programmers can use the same piece of software, and they can use the same piece of software at the same time. Allows continuity with other games that may form part of a whole range, as we said. Allows continuity that once they are just a sort of a brand, so they can be using the same with other games, or they can be using it with other programs. We just talked about MS Office, just to make you understand. MS Office main Word, etc., they all are having something similar. So their main routine might be written by, and they might be stored in the program library to be used by the people. Allows the maintenance of a corporate image. Now, this is the main thing. A corporate image is created because the moment you see this picture, it may strike you that this is that company which is developing maybe a new game. Saves considerable development time having to test each routine, since the routines are fully tested and they can be used because they are ever free. I mean, you are not at all, you can say, burdenized. You don't have to worry at all, because you know that the programs have been fully tested, the programs are there, so you don't have to worry at all. Now, an operating system have two program libraries. Now, any question? DLLs, we are moving to DLLs. All operating systems have two program libraries containing library programs and library routines, which are static and dynamic. Now, what is a static and what is dynamic? In static libraries, software being developed is linked to executable code in the library at the time of compilation. So the library routines may be embedded directly into the program code. Now, this is your static libraries. Now, when we compare like, for example, just giving an example, maybe I have written a routine of 100 lines, and I want to, just giving you a very simple example, I wrote a routine of 100 lines, and I want to embed a library routine that is saved in the, as a static, I want to insert it as a static library, maybe of 50 lines. So 100 plus 50, so my new program code will be storing 150 lines. Just to make it very simple, this is what I'm quoting to make you understand. Now, if we talk about dynamic link libraries, or DLLs, in short, we call them DLLs, what is happening with them? In dynamic libraries, software being developed is not linked to library routines until actually running. And these are known as DLLs. These library routines would be standalone files only being accessed as required by the new program. The routines will be available to several applications at the same time. So they will not be embedded. One thing that you need to know is, in static libraries, the routines are embedded, and in dynamic libraries, the routines are not embedded. They can be inserted whenever needed, they can be loaded whenever needed, whenever required, and the memory is going to be. Now, what is the advantage? If you have understood, like for example, again, if I quote the same example of 150 lines, So in static library, it will, because of the use of static library, the next file will be of 150 lines, or 150, if 150 is going to be the, like 150 lines will be occupied. But in case of DLLs, 100 lines for the original and 50 lines for the for the dynamic link library program, that will be only embedded, inserted when at the compilation of, when the program is running. Actual runtime. So till runtime, the work will not be embedded there, and that is an advantage. And these are, you can see, when using TLLs, since the library routines are not loaded into RAM until required, memory is saved. Now, this is what the advantage is. Memory is saved and software runs faster. For example, suppose we are writing new software which allows access to a printer as part of its specification. Now, this is going to be the main thing. The biggest advantage of DLLs is the memory is saved and the software runs faster. For example, suppose we are writing a new software which allows access to a printer as part of its specification. The main program will be loaded, will be developed and compiled. Once the object code is run, it will only access and load the printer routine from DLLs whenever required. So the main program will not contain the details until and unless they are working on it. So this is a very great advantage. Memory consumption is lesser, and the cost is also going to be definitely, memory consumption is lesser. It will be only needed whenever required. Now, this is again a table. Let's very quickly recap this table, because that is very important for our own selves. What are the pros and cons? Executable code of the main program is much smaller since DLL files are loaded at runtime only. The main program is going to be much smaller. Executable code of the main program will be much smaller. Possible to make changes to DLL files independently of the main program. Consequently, if any changes are made to the DLL files, it is not necessary to recompile the main program. Now you can see another one. If, for example, an amendment has to be made in the DLLs, so the amendments made to the DLL files will be compiled and tested and stored with the new amendments. So we, as the person who is using DLLs, does not have to recompile the program, because the compilation and testing is already done at the DLL's end. DLL files can be made available to a number of applications at the same time. So this is a very great advantage. They can be made available to a number of applications at the same time. And all of the above save memory and also save execution time. Save memory and save execution time. So this I've highlighted the key points so that you can just frame a very quick answer for yourself regarding the pros and cons of the DLL files. Now moving to the cons. Executable code is not self-contained, therefore all the DLL files need to be available at runtime. Otherwise, error messages such as missing DLL error you might have encountered whenever maybe you are installing some program. Executable code is not self-contained. It is not a part of the program. This is what I talked about with respect to the example. All DLL files need to be available at runtime. Otherwise, error messages are going to occur. So this is a problem, and it may result in your software crashing completely. Any DLL linking software in the main program needs to be available at runtime to allow the links with DLL files to be made. The second disadvantage, if any of the DLL files have been changed, either intentionally or through corruption, this could lead to the main program giving unexpected results or even crashing. So if the DLL files have undergone any sort of amendment, so although this is treated as a sort of an advantage in the beginning, but maybe the main program was designed to do something else, and there is a little change in the DLL due to any reason. Maybe some corruption has taken place. That's why the DLL files are not the same anymore. So it may result in your system not doing the work at all, or in extreme cases, it may even crash also. Malicious changes to DLL files could be done due to the result of malware, thus presenting a risk to the main program following the linking process. So these are the few disadvantages you can see are of DLLs, and you need to be very well prepared for your topic in order to understand and answer any of the questions that are coming in the paper. So for today, like, this is the 5.1 operating systems, utility software, and DLLs, very important topics we have discussed. So inshallah, in the next class, we'll talk about 5.2, which is language translators. Till that time, take care of yourselves and your loved ones. May Allah bless you. May Allah help you. Keep watching the videos. do not forget to click on the bell icon to get the latest updates. May Allah bless you. May Allah help you. Allah Hafiz. Take very good care of yourselves and your loved ones.